Dragon Ball Super introduced us to multiple new levels of the gods, one of the most prolific being the gods of destruction. Specifically, we started out with the introduction to Beerus from Universe 7, followed by his brother Champa from Universe 6. Getting into the Tournament of Power, this position was expanded further when we met the other 10 gods of destruction from the other universes and learned a little bit about them. However, one character that stood out to me personally was Toppo from Universe 11, a candidate for the next god of destruction. That got some people thinking. For Universe 7, would we ever get to see a potential candidate for the next god of destruction, kinda like Toppo? And who would the candidates be if that happened? And of them, who is the most likely to become the next god of destruction? Well, in case you couldn't tell by the title of this video, that's what I'm here for, so let's get into it. I want to start off by saying this is all speculation, obviously. I don't see it happening anytime soon, or maybe at all, and frankly, I don't really want to see it happen. But regardless, it's fun to speculate and try and predict what might happen if something like this ever did occur. Beerus will probably remain in his position for the rest of the series, unless he maybe dies or something like that, and I doubt he'll ever actually be replaced in the near future though. But it's just speculation after all, and we're just predicting who may replace him if that need ever arises. Ever since Beerus and Whis were first introduced, we've seen a few instances where they were thinking about who Beerus' successor will be, specifically Whis, who is normally the one who'd be saying this. This was mainly directed towards Goku or Vegeta, their two disciples, but as of now, neither of them really seem to be interested in the role. If Universe 7 were to get another god of destruction, who would be the likely candidates, and what are the chances of it happening? Well, there's quite a few options other than these two, but let's start with the obvious ones, including these two, and what qualifies them for the position. For one, we have Goku. Goku is undoubtedly strong, and his training and abilities that he got in Dragon Ball Super further exemplify this point. He has access to God Ki, Super Saiyan God, the levels beyond that, as well as being one of the few people to access Ultra Instinct, even though it's brief, and is the only mortal as of now that has access to this form. It's a big deal. The gods of destruction were even surprised at the fact that someone was even able to achieve this, even more so since it was immortal. That's not even something that they could do easily. So if we're looking at this like a job, Goku's resume is definitely impressive, and if he wanted to become a god of destruction, he definitely could. But that's the big question, if he wants to become one, and my answer to that is no. I feel like he wouldn't want to, and that seems like it's made pretty clear. First of all, he already declined Whis' offer for it, so I think that's a clear-cut answer right there, nothing really to interpret with it. Sure, time has passed since then, and he may think differently now, but I think that's highly unlikely. Goku is a pure-hearted person, who isn't one to kill or destroy. As a god of destruction, that would basically be his whole job, killing and destroying, which goes against the Goku that we've seen so far. We've only seen Goku kill a couple of times, and it was only out of absolute necessity. He even spared people like Frieza at first, because he views that people can change, while a god of destruction in that situation probably would have just destroyed Frieza on the spot because of how big of a threat he is. And they destroy much more than just people like Frieza. Well, unless your name is Beerus, then Frieza would just be your contract killer. But yeah, Goku's mindset completely goes against what the job of god of destruction needs you to do. So while he does have the power and the abilities, and is very accomplished, and he'd make a great god of destruction, the only thing going against him is himself. He definitely wouldn't want to do something like this as a job, and we've already seen him confirm this. Alright, so that's Goku out of the way, and besides him, there's another obvious choice, and that's Vegeta. Much like Goku, he has some pretty impressive feats and has a good resume for this type of job. God Ki, Super Saiyan God, etc, etc. He's got it all. Pretty much everything Goku had besides Ultra Instinct. He definitely has proven himself to be strong and tactical, and alongside that, he's been proven to be a great military expert, and Vegeta would most likely make for a solid leader as a god of destruction, and would be a good fit for the position. But just like Goku, there's some issues here. While he would make for a good god of destruction, you have to consider, do you think he would even want to be one? In my opinion, I think it's kinda unlikely, but I mean it is possible. Time and time again, Vegeta has been shown to have motivation towards surpassing his limits and getting stronger, but he seems to want to do it in his own terms. Becoming a god of destruction would grant him a lot of power, but he wouldn't get it on his own because he'd just be granted it, and I feel it's not something Vegeta would normally do since it's so unfulfilling for him. On the other hand though, this seems like a worthy position for him, besides the power stuff. He is one who would most likely enjoy having this sort of influence, and he'd probably be great at his job. But who knows, he's at least more likely to accept it than Goku is, but I would still say it's unlikely. That doesn't mean we'll completely rule him out of the picture though. Next up is kind of an odd pick, but it makes sense when you begin to think about it, and it's something that a lot of people have been theorizing. I'm referring to Frieza here. Frieza in terms of power would be another good pick, and in terms of accepting the offer, there's no doubt about it that this is a position Frieza would probably enjoy. Frieza also has some prior acquaintance with Beerus, as seen with their interactions, and due to the fact that Beerus was actually the one to tell Frieza to destroy planet Vegeta. But in contrast to Goku and Vegeta, Frieza probably isn't the one that would be offered this position. Sure, he's powerful and he'd probably love the position, but there's obvious issues if Frieza were to ever try and get this position. If he ever got it, he'd either try and take over the throne himself, or he would just wish for it rather than being chosen and nominated for it. At least, that's how I view it. Frieza is very much a loose cannon, and making him a god of destruction would be a terrible idea for the universe and the multiverses as a whole. 100% without a doubt in my mind, he would definitely be one to abuse his power. I mean, he already does as Emperor, so why wouldn't he as a god of destruction? While Beerus doesn't do his job well enough, Frieza would do his job too well. Most likely, he'd be destroying things for fun whenever he's not abusing his power to have everyone in the universe under his control. I mean, like I said, maybe he would try and take over the position himself, but in terms of being offered it, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Speaking of Frieza, we have someone that has some sort of relation to him that people keep suggesting, and that's Broly. Once again, Broly definitely has the power to back up being a god of destruction, but he's a highly unlikely choice, at least as of now. Frankly, his power is all he's got going for him. He would be a pretty bad pick for the spot at the moment, since he wouldn't even know how to use his power and probably wouldn't be very good at his job, and would most likely just be incompetent here. Even if he were competent, Broly has been shown to be very extreme in either direction, either being very passive or very hostile, both of which would be terrible for a god of destruction. He'd either be too passive to actually destroy stuff when he needs to, or if he's angered, well, I don't even really need to explain that, he'd just be way too aggressive and destroy everything in his path. That is probably the worst combination you could have for a god of destruction. So those 4 so far are fan suggestions that I've seen a lot, but I want to throw one more speculation your way, which is an absolute wild card, but I think it's someone that would fit this position well. Before we suggest who I think is most likely to become a god of destruction, I want to throw in this weird pick just to spice things up. Now, I don't see this happening ever, and frankly, like I've been saying, this is all just speculation and I doubt they'll ever show us a new god of destruction, but one I'd like to suggest that is a bit outlandish would be Piccolo. I know, it's a little weird, oh, well, very weird, but I feel he's actually very well qualified for this job. Sure, Piccolo may not have the power of someone like Goku or Vegeta, but he is undeniably powerful, and could grow to that level with sufficient training. In terms of non-power traits, Piccolo is just a good leader in general, and would be a great fit for this role. He's smart, pragmatic, and when something needs to be done, he gets it done and he's proactive. He would have the right mindset for a god of destruction. He wouldn't destroy stuff all willy-nilly, but when he needs to, he'll know when to, and he'll do it for the greater good. I mean, we do have the issue of him being kinda evil before, but that's obviously past. Ever since he merged with Kami, we've known that Piccolo's an objectively good guy now. Also, it would be kinda cool progression in a way, because he's fused with Kami now, so he'd be going from someone who was once the guardian of Earth, and the son of someone who once terrorized it, all the way to being basically the boss of the galaxy. He may not have been able to take over the Earth like he wanted to a while ago, but now being the god of destruction of a universe, that's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty fitting role for him as well, and he'd be able to do his job very well in my opinion. It's an absolute wild card pick, but with the points I brought up and after thinking about it a little bit, I mean, it kinda makes sense and it could fit really well for him. So with my little wild card pick out of the way, now we can get to the actual meat of the discussion. Who would actually be the best pick for the next god of destruction? And of the people I've discussed, who is actually the most likely? Well, in terms of the fan suggestions I brought up, we could definitely rule Frieza and Broly out. They're not going to become gods of destruction anytime soon. As for Goku, it's a little more likely, but still very doubtful for him for the reasons I discussed. And as I've been saying, I don't even see this happening at all, but it doesn't hurt to speculate. In terms of who would be the best pick, I still stand by my idea of Piccolo being one. But to be more realistic, since I don't really see Piccolo getting it honestly, Vegeta definitely seems to be the most likely with the way Super is being written. Vegeta fits the role, and I'm sure we sees him as a good potential candidate, and it honestly would be kind of a good fit for him. Even though I've said I like Piccolo the best for this, and I think he would be a great fit and probably the best option, I don't see that happening sadly, mainly due to how he's been written, and how Dragon Ball Super made him a little less relevant than someone like Vegeta. That doesn't mean he's a bad option, it's just, I don't really see it happening with the way they're writing him. There definitely is a larger focus on Goku and Vegeta, so if they ever were to do this, Vegeta makes more sense. He's strong, accomplished, he has training with Whis, he's disciplined, knows about the gods of destruction and all their pecking orders and whatever, has had experiences with the Kai as well, and he's been proven to be a great leader himself, a trait that any god of destruction would probably need to have. When you combine all those factors together, and even though it's kinda unlikely, he probably would be one to actually accept this position. It becomes very clear once you start to discuss it. So if this plot point ever were to happen, who do you think would be the next God of Destruction? Or who would you like to see become a potential candidate for one? Leave your ideas and opinions in the comments below, and start discussing who you think will be the best choice and who's your favorite. I mean, it is a discussion video after all. Let's start discussing. Anyways, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe if you want, as well as hitting the bell icon for notifications about future videos of mine and stuff similar to this. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.